Hi again, ladies and gents, and I'm very excited because I'm going to talk to you about one of my favourite ever Hitchcock movies, 1958's wonderful production of Vertigo, starring Jimmy Stewart and Kim Novak in the lead roles. This is a spellbinder, this film. It's my absolute favourite, and the British Film Institute would agree with me. Recently, this movie dethroned Citizen Kane as their pick for the number one best film of all time. It's a movie of two parts. It begins almost like a film noir kind of thriller. Jimmy Stewart plays a retired detective in San Francisco who is hired for one last case by a businessman to follow and tell his wife because he thinks that she's possessed by some spirit of something. So he follows her around for a day, goes to the same places she goes, watches her buying flowers, and he goes to watch her at an art gallery, and he sees her at the grave, putting flowers on the grave of a woman, and he does a bit of research and finds out the woman is an ancestor of hers, and he befriends the woman and takes her in. He sees her plunge herself off the San Francisco Bay in a suicide attempt. And he takes her in for the night and befriends her and is kind to her. And he falls in love with her. And she with him, or so we think at the time. And he ends up taking her to a Spanish mission. And in an infamous scene, which has been parodied so many times over the years, including in The Simpsons, he's got a fear of height. He has the titular vertigo. So she runs to the top of the Spanish mission and he can't follow. And he watches her helplessly as she plunges to her death. And confined to a mental institution, Jimmy Stewart spends some time there and distraught with guilt over what he's done to her. And I don't want to spoil too much, but the movie is a brilliant tale of obsession and kind of twisted love. He meets a woman called Judy who reminds him so much of Madeline, who is the woman played by Kim Novak earlier in the film, that he tries to fashion her into his former love. He makes her change her hair colour to resemble Madeline and makes her wear the same clothing. And the second half of the movie becomes a very different film. It's about Jimmy Stewart's descent into madness and obsession. It is a corker of a film. It's a brilliant film, and I have both the Blu-ray and the DVD edition, and it's an essential addition to any Hitchcock fan's library, and an essential addition to any movie fan's DVD library. It has some fantastic direction and some brilliant footage of San Francisco. It's just really interesting to see San Francisco just as a slice of life, what it might have been like in the 1950s. Yeah, there's not a lot more that can be said about this film. It's one of cinema's all-time greats. And the score by Bernard Herrmann is another cracker from him. Just the soundtrack captures the innermost thoughts of Jimmy Stewart as he descends into his obsession. Vertigo plays a critical role in what happens in the denouement of the story. And without giving too much away, some people were quite disappointed by the ending. They said it was kind of abrupt, and it kind of is, but I think it works within the context of the movie. The performances are just great. Like Jimmy Stewart, I mean, he's a legend. How can you argue with Jimmy Stewart? He collaborated with Hitchcock on at least 4 movies, I think. Rope, The Man Who Knew Too Much, Vertigo, and what's the other one I'm missing? Rear Window, of course. How can I forget Rear Window? Vertigo was not a critical success, unfortunately. The critics at the time, when it came out, weren't too pleased with this movie, and it didn't do very well at the box office, and it kind of sullied Hitchcock's reputation a bit. But it's received a critical reappraisal in the decades since, and is now justly called one of his best films. And I would completely and utterly agree. This is a fine, fine piece of filmmaking. It's just one of those films where everything came into alignment. The screenplay, the visuals, the performances, the soundtrack, everything. Uh, it's become a legend. As I said, The Simpsons has parodied it, and there isn't really a lot more I can add. It's just one of those films. And if you're a fan of Hitchcock, you've probably seen this one already. And if you haven't, I implore you to watch this. This is a good one. This is maybe the best one. I'd like you to challenge that in the comments. If you think there's a better Hitchcock film, I'd love to know about it. There are some that come very close. Rear Window is also an excellent film. Psycho is another of my favourites. North by Northwest also is right near the top of the heap. Vertigo is the film to beat. It is an exemplary masterwork by one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. This is Adam Walton, signing out.